The night was thick with tension, the kind that made your skin crawl and your heart race. I sat in my car, parked just far enough from the apartment building to remain unseen, but close enough to see every detail. The rain had started to fall, a soft patter against the windshield that did nothing to soothe the storm brewing inside me. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I couldn't believe what I was about to witness. Earlier that evening, I had noticed something off about Mia. She had been distant lately, her eyes avoiding mine whenever I tried to talk to her. At first, I chalked it up to stress. She had been working long hours, and our daughter Lily had been acting out more than usual. But tonight, when she told me she was going out for a late meeting, something in her voice made my gut twist. I didn't say anything, just nodded and watched her leave. And then, against my better judgment, I followed her. Now here I was, watching as she stepped out of her car and walked briskly toward the apartment building. She didn't look back, didn't hesitate. My heart pounded in my chest as I saw him, Jack, my best friend, waiting for her at the entrance. He was dressed casually, a stark contrast to the sharp suits he usually wore. They exchanged a few words, and then he pulled her into his arms, kissing her with a passion that made my stomach churn. I felt like I was going to be sick. I watched as they disappeared into the building, my mind racing. How long had this been going on? How could they do this to me? I had trusted Jack with my life, with my family, and Mia. I thought we were happy. I thought we had everything. But now, as I sat there in the rain, I realized how blind I had been. I couldn't just sit there. I had to know the truth. I got out of the car, the rain soaking through my clothes in seconds, and made my way to the building. The lobby was empty, the only sound the soft hum of the elevator. I took the stairs, my footsteps echoing in the narrow stairwell. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely hear myself think. When I reached the 5th floor, I paused outside the door to apartment 507. I could hear muffled voices inside, the sound of laughter that sent a chill down my spine. I took a deep breath, my hand trembling as I reached for the doorknob. It was unlocked. I pushed the door open slowly, the room coming into view. The sight that greeted me was something out of a nightmare. The apartment was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of alcohol and sweat. Mia and Jack were on the couch, their bodies intertwined in a way that left no doubt about what was happening. They were so engrossed in each other that they didn't even notice me standing there. What the hell is going on here? I demanded, my voice shaking with anger. They froze, their eyes wide with shock as they turned to look at me. Mia quickly pulled away from Jack, her face pale. "Mark, I can explain," she stammered, but I wasn't listening. "Explain? Explain what?" "That you're sleeping with my best friend behind my back," I shouted, my voice echoing through the room. Jack stood up, holding his hands up in a gesture of peace. "Mark, it's not what you think." "We don't," I interrupted, my voice low and dangerous. "Don't try to justify this. You're my best friend, Jack. How could you do this to me?" Mia stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "Mark, please. I never wanted to hurt you. But there's something you need to know." I shook my head, refusing to believe anything she had to say. What could you possibly say to justify this? To make me forgive you? She took a deep breath, her eyes filled with pain. "Jack, he's Lily's father." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I staggered back, my mind reeling. "What are you talking about?" "Before we got married, Jack and I, we were in love. But things didn't work out. I thought it was over, but then I found out I was pregnant. I didn't know what to do. So I married you. I thought it was the right thing to do," she explained, her voice trembling. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All these years, I had been raising a child who wasn't mine. The betrayal was too much to bear. I turned to Jack, my fist clenched. "And you? How long have you known about this?" He nodded, his face filled with guilt. "I've known. I'm sorry, Mark. I never wanted to hurt you. But I couldn't stay away from her. I love her." I felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. Everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I looked at Mia, my heart breaking. "How could you do this to me?" To Lily, she shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Mark. I never wanted any of this to happen." I couldn't stay there any longer. I turned and walked out of the apartment, the rain soaking through my clothes as I made my way back to the car. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, pain. I didn't know what to do, where to go. All I knew was that my life would never be the same again. Part 2. I drove through the rain, my hands trembling on the steering wheel from anger and pain. My mind was spinning with chaotic thoughts. How could things have come to this? I had trusted Mia and Jack. But now that trust was shattered, broken into pieces that felt impossible to put back together. The rain pounded against the windshield, matching the storm raging inside me. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay in that apartment, couldn't face them any longer. The roads were slick, the streetlights casting eerie reflections on the wet pavement. My thoughts kept circling back to the revelation that had just turned my world upside down. Lily, my daughter, no, not my daughter, was Jack's child. How could Mia have kept this from me for all these years? And Jack, my so-called best friend, had known the truth and said nothing. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. I pulled over into an empty parking lot, the engine idling as I stared blankly ahead. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it. It was probably Mia, trying to explain, trying to justify what she had done. But there was no justification for this. None. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms as I fought to keep my emotions in check. The memories of the past flooded my mind. The day I met Mia, the way she had smiled at me, the laughter we shared. I had thought we were building a life together, a family, but it had all been a lie. Even Lily, the little girl I had raised as my own, wasn't mine. The thought of her innocent face made my heart ache. What would happen to her now? How could I look at her the same way knowing the truth? I leaned my head against the steering wheel, the weight of it all pressing down on me. I felt like I was drowning, suffocating under the weight of the betrayal. I needed to talk to someone who could help me make sense of this mess. But who? My parents? They would be devastated. My friends? They were Jack's friends too. I felt utterly alone. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text. I glanced at the screen. It was from Mia. Please, Mark, let's talk. I know I've hurt you, but we need to figure this out for Lily's sake. I stared at the message, my jaw tightening. Lily. She was using Lily to manipulate me, to make me feel guilty for walking away. But how could I stay after what I had learned? I turned off the engine and stepped out of the car, the rain soaking me instantly. I needed to clear my head, to think. I walked aimlessly, the streets deserted at this late hour. My mind kept replaying the scene in the apartment, Mia and Jack together, the way they had looked at each other. It was like a knife twisting in my chest. As I walked, I found myself outside a small park. I sat on a bench under a tree, the branches offering some shelter from the rain. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I needed to figure out what to do next. I couldn't just walk away from everything, not without a plan. But the thought of facing Mia and Jack again made me sick. I thought about Lily. She was innocent in all of this. She didn't deserve to suffer because of her parents' mistakes. But how could I continue to be her father knowing the truth? Would she even want me in her life once she found out? The questions swirled in my mind, each one more painful than the last. I pulled out my phone and stared at it, unsure of what to do. Finally, I dialed a number. My brother, Ethan. He was the only person I could think of who might understand. The phone rang a few times before he answered, his voice groggy with sleep. Mark? It's late. What's going on? He asked. Ethan, I need to talk. It's Mia. My voice broke, and I couldn't continue. Ethan's tone immediately shifted to concern. Mark, what happened? Are you okay? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. I found out Mia's been cheating on me. With Jack. And Lily's not my daughter. She's Jack's. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Jesus, Mark. I don't know what to say. Are you sure? I saw them together, Ethan. Mia admitted it. She told me everything. I don't know what to do. Ethan sighed. Look, I'm coming over. Where are you? I gave him my location, and he promised to be there as soon as possible. I sat there in the rain, waiting, my mind still racing. When Ethan arrived, he found me sitting on the bench, soaked and shivering. He handed me a jacket and sat down beside me. Mark, I'm so sorry, he said, his voice filled with sympathy. I can't even imagine how you're feeling. I shook my head, tears mixing with the rain on my face. I don't know what to do, Ethan. I feel like my whole life has been a lie. Ethan put a hand on my shoulder. You're not alone, Mark. We'll figure this out together. But first, you need to take care of yourself. You're no good to anyone if you're falling apart. I nodded, grateful for his support. What about Lily? She's just a kid. She doesn't deserve this. Lily loves you, Mark. No matter what, you're the only father she's ever known. That doesn't change just because of this. You'll figure out how to be there for her. But first, you need to take some time to process everything. I leaned back against the bench, closing my eyes. Ethan was right. I couldn't make any decisions right now. I needed time to think, to heal. But the road ahead felt impossibly long and uncertain. Come on, Ethan said, standing up. Let's get you out of the rain. You can stay with me tonight, and we'll figure out the next steps tomorrow. I followed him to his car, my mind still a whirlwind of emotions. As we drove away, I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever be able to trust anyone again. The life I had known was gone, and I wasn't sure what would take its place. All I knew was that I had to find a way to move forward, for Lily's sake, and for my own. Part 3 asterisk. The next morning, I woke up on Ethan's couch. My body heavy and my mind still foggy with exhaustion. The events of the previous night felt like a nightmare, but the ache in my chest reminded me it was all too real. Ethan was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. He looked up as I walked in, his expression a mix of concern and sympathy. "Morning," he said quietly, pushing a mug of coffee toward me. "How are you holding up?" I shrugged, sinking into the chair across from him. "I don't know. I feel numb, like I'm stuck in some kind of limbo." Ethan nodded, understanding in his eyes. "That's normal, Mark. You've just had your world turned upside down. It's going to take time to process everything." I took a sip of the coffee, the warmth doing little to ease the cold emptiness inside me. "I keep thinking about Lily," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "She's just a kid. She doesn't deserve any of this." "Lily loves you, Mark," Ethan said firmly. "You've been her father her whole life. That doesn't change just because of what Mia and Jack did. You're still her dad." I wanted to believe him, but the doubt gnawed at me. What if she finds out? What if she doesn't want me in her life anymore? Ethan reached across the table, placing a hand on my arm. "Mark, you're overthinking this. Lily's a smart kid, and she knows how much you love her. When the time comes to tell her the truth, you'll figure it out together. But for now, focus on yourself. You need to heal before you can be there for her." I nodded, though his words didn't fully ease my worries. "What about Mia and Jack? I can't just pretend this didn't happen." Ethan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "That's a tough one. You're going to have to decide what you want to do, whether you're willing to try to work things out with Mia or if you need to walk away. But whatever you decide, make sure it's what's best for you and Lily." I stared into my coffee, the weight of his words settling on my shoulders. "I don't know if I can forgive her, Ethan. The betrayal, it's too much. And that's okay," he said gently. "You don't have to make any decisions right now. Take your time. Talk to someone, a therapist, maybe. They can help you sort through all of this." The idea of therapy hadn't crossed my mind, but it made sense. I couldn't keep carrying this burden alone. "Yeah, maybe I'll look into that," I said quietly. Ethan gave me a small smile. "Good. And remember, you're not alone in this. I'm here for you, no matter what." I felt a lump form in my throat, grateful for his support. "Thanks, Ethan. I don't know what I'd do without you." We sat in silence for a while, the only sound the ticking of the clock on the wall. My mind wandered back to Mia and Jack, the image of them together burning in my memory. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, the anger that simmered just beneath the surface. But I also couldn't ignore the pain, the heartbreak that came with realizing the life I thought I had was built on lies. Later that afternoon, I decided to go for a walk to clear my head. The rain had stopped, leaving the air fresh and crisp. I wandered through the park, the familiar surroundings providing a small sense of comfort. As I walked, I thought about Lily, her laugh, her smile, the way she always ran to me when I came home from work. She was my daughter, no matter what the DNA said. I couldn't imagine my life without her. But the thought of facing Mia again filled me with dread. I didn't know if I could ever trust her again, if I could ever look at her the same way. And Jack, the thought of him made my blood boil. How could he do this to me? How could he betray me like this? As I walked, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Mia again. I hesitated before answering, my hand trembling as I brought the phone to my ear. "Mark, please," she said, her voice choked with tears. "We need to talk. I know I've hurt you, but we can't just ignore this. We need to figure out what's next, for Lily's sake." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "I don't know what to say, Mia. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this." "I know," she whispered, "and I don't blame you. But we can't just pretend this didn't happen. We need to figure out how to move forward, for Lily." I closed my eyes, the weight of her words pressing down on me. "I need time, Mia. I can't do this right now." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Okay," she said finally. "Take your time. But please, Mark, don't shut me out. We're still a family, no matter what." I ended the call without responding, my emotions a tangled mess. I didn't know what to do, how to move forward. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't let this destroy me. I had to find a way to heal, for Lily's sake and for my own. As I walked back to Ethan's place, I made a decision. I would take things one step at a time, focus on myself and Lily, and figure out the rest as I went. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew I couldn't face it alone. With Ethan's support and Lily's love, I would find a way to rebuild my life, piece by piece. The betrayal had broken me, but it hadn't destroyed me. And as long as I had Lily, I knew I could find a way to move forward. She was my anchor, my reason to keep going. And no matter what happened, I would always be her father. Part 5 asterisk. The weeks turned into months, and life slowly began to find a new rhythm. Mia and I continued to navigate the fragile terrain of our relationship, taking small steps toward rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. It wasn't easy. There were moments of anger, sadness, and doubt, but we both knew that Lily was worth the effort. She was the glue that held us together, even when everything else felt like it was falling apart. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Mia and I sat on the couch, the silence between us heavy but not uncomfortable. It was in these quiet moments that we often found the courage to talk about the things that weighed on our hearts. "Mark," Mia began, her voice soft but steady. "I know I've said it before, but I need you to know how sorry I am. Every day, I think about the pain I caused you, and I hate myself for it. But I'm grateful that you're still here, that you're willing to try." I looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. "Mia, I'm not going to lie. This hasn't been easy. There are days when I still feel angry, when I wonder if I'll ever fully forgive you. But I'm trying. For Lily and for us. I just need you to be patient with me." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I will, Mark. I'll do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. I love you, and I love our family. I don't want to lose that." Her words touched something deep inside me, a reminder of the love we had built over the years. It wasn't perfect, and it never would be. But it was real. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. As the months passed, we began to find our footing again. We started family traditions, movie nights, weekend hikes, and baking sessions with Lily. These small moments of joy helped to heal the wounds of the past, reminding us of what truly mattered. Jack and I also began to rebuild our friendship, though it was different from before. We were more cautious, more aware of the boundaries that needed to be respected, but there was still a bond between us, forged through years of shared experiences and mutual understanding. We both knew that our friendship would never be the same, but we were determined to make it work. One day, as I watched Lily playing in the park, I realized how far we had come. She was happy, carefree, and full of life, a testament to the love and stability we had fought so hard to provide. In that moment, I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. Life wasn't perfect, and it never would be. There would always be challenges, moments of doubt, and scars from the past. But we had each other, and we had Lily. And for now, that was enough. As I scooped Lily up into my arms, her laughter filling the air, I knew that we were going to be okay. We had weathered the storm, and though we were bruised and battered, we were still standing. Together, we would face whatever came next, one step at a time. The journey ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to embrace it. For Lily, for Mia, and for myself, I was ready to keep moving forward. After all, the most beautiful stories are often the ones that are hardest to tell. And ours was just beginning.